Hey YouTube, Silenced here with Airsoft Team OSMD, and today I wanted to do a video on Threadlockers. So this isn't going to be a review or anything, it's just going to be a tech tip video. So I'm going to start to try and unveil these every Tuesday if I can, Tech Tip Tuesdays, but today it's Threadlockers. So why would you want to use Threadlockers? Well, Threadlockers are really useful for avoiding the problem of having screws undo themselves. So here I have a 1/4 inch bolt and a nut, and as you can see, or I hope you can see, it unscrews really easily. So that's a common problem with airsoft guns in general, is your pistol grip is held on by 2 screws, and if those screws are tightened down too much, they will strip out. So you don't want to tighten them too much because you're tightening into cast aluminum, which that's a whole nother video, is gearbox screws. Anyway, but so what you can do is you can use just about any of the products that are in front of you, minus this wrench, but basically if you apply a little bit of Threadlocker to your threads on every assembly, you'll never have problems with it coming undone. So the question is, what Threadlocker should I use for what application? Well, blue is the standard basically. Blue is a removable Threadlocker. It's great because this is a liquid, so you can apply this right to the threads. Now the threads have to be exposed. You just apply basically just a drop right on it and then assemble it. Now it takes about an hour for blue to cure. That's just been my experience. It takes quite a while, so you don't want to actually put the piece into use. You can, but if it's a very critical application, you wouldn't want to use blue before it fully cures. And then once it cures, you can just remove it with the same tools you use to assemble it. So blue is great. The problem with blue is it's not super strong, and it's also a liquid. So if you put it in your toolbox and this flips upside down, a lot of times weird things can happen. You'll take the lid off and all of a sudden there'll be like a blue, like, caked on mess in the cap. So blue's great. It works for probably 95% of your applications, which is why I have the big bottle of it. But it's not right for every application. So this is a blue Threadlocker quick stick, Loctite 248. Now this is the same strength as the blue that you just saw, the liquid, but this is actually like a glue stick, which is pretty neat because this is great because you can just throw it in your toolbox and it can flip upside down, whatever, and it doesn't run. It's a gel stick. So you just apply the gel stick. You have to again have the threads exposed, and then you just rotate just a little bit and then let it cure. Same cure time, about an hour for full cure. I mean, you can look up the specs on their website, but this is great for throwing in your toolbox. It doesn't take up a lot of space. So this is great for, another good reason why the sticks are good is it doesn't run. So if you're going to put a screw down into your pistol grip and you don't want lubricant, or you don't want the Threadlocker getting everywhere, when you put this on your threads, it stays put. So when you put the screw down in, you don't have Threadlocker everywhere, which Threadlocker can attack ABS plastic. So if you're threadlocking something into ABS plastic, you gotta be careful, because if you get this stuff around there, it can eat it away, because I think it has toluene in it, which is a solvent. So if blue doesn't cut it, what else do you have available? Well, if you're working with metal, red is good. So here I have some red Threadlocker. Red Threadlocker is actually my go-to choice for most applications. It's a little bit overkill, but I like red Threadlocker because it cures very quickly. Red is for only The only way you can undo red is if you apply heat. Usually in the form of like a blowtorch, which I use a blowtorch because it's fast. You can actually force it to cure by applying heat and letting it cool down. You can also remove it by applying heat, and it's incredibly strong. Red, you'll break the bolt. Usually it'll shear the bolt in half before you get it off, usually with red. The red stick I didn't have as great of an experience with. It wasn't as strong as the liquid, so I don't recommend the red stick. I actually have two of them. They don't hold strong at all, and you can't make them cure fast, so I don't like the red stick. But the red liquid is perfect. Now, there's a niche here. This is green Threadlocker. Green Threadlocker is one of the most interesting that there is. Green Threadlocker you apply to an assembly after it has been screwed in. So if I was going to thread lock this nut and bolt, I would put it where I want it, and then I would just apply a drop of green, and green will work its way inside without me having to touch it. So I can assemble it exactly how it's going to be, tighten it down, and put a little bit in, and it'll wick in. And this holds very strong. You do not need a lot of this. I found out the hard way. This is great for if you're going to adjust your motor height on your AEG, because if you were going to use, say, blue on your AEG, you'd have to back the screw all the way out of your pistol grip, apply it to the threads, and then quickly screw it in and try and adjust your motor height on a dime. And that's not the best way to do it. The best way to do it is to adjust your motor height like normal, and then use the right product. Use green. The green Threadlocker, after your motor height's perfectly adjusted, you put a drop in and it'll wick in. You do not need a lot of this. I made that mistake. If you put too much green Threadlocker, you need to remove it with a blowtorch. There's just no way. You'll strip your screw out. It's terrible. So you only need a little bit of this, but it works wonders. It locks it right down, and you don't have to do any other tweaking. This is also great for if you're going to adjust iron sights, because iron sights, usually you have to take like a hammer and you adjust your sight and you knock it to one side, but the problem is if you're going to use blue, again, you have to remove it, put the blue on, and then put it in and quickly try and adjust your sight. Adjust your sight. That's not the best way to do it. The best way to do it is to use the right product again, green. With green Threadlocker, you can adjust your sights perfect. This works for firearms too. You can adjust your iron sights perfect, put a drop of green Threadlocker, it'll wick its way in, and you're done.